If you think you know what a fair marriage looks like, wait until you hear how my wife turned an accountability reset into a system designed to judge me while hiding what she had done in my name. Stay until the end, because the way this thing collapsed will surprise you. And if it speaks to you, hit subscribe before we start. I remember the exact moment I realized the reset was not about us. It was a Tuesday night, and Kendra was sitting cross-legged on the couch, watching a YouTube clip where some woman with a whiteboard explained why husbands needed structured accountability to become better providers. The volume was low, but I caught enough. I set my water down and waited to see if she would say anything. She did not. She just nodded at the screen like it was confirming something she had already decided. My name is Derek. I was 36, living in a suburb outside Columbus, Ohio, and selling non-alcoholic beverages to grocery chain accounts for a living. Not glamorous, but steady. I thought my marriage to Kendra was the same. Steady. We had been together 9 years, married for 6. She cycled through phases the way some people cycle through gym memberships. Capsule wardrobes, meal kit subscriptions, a brief obsession with zero-waste living that ended when she realized it meant washing plastic bags. I had learned to wait them out. Before you listen, share in the comments which country or city you're watching from, and let's continue. So when she brought up the 30-day accountability reset, I did what I always did. I half-listened, nodded in the right places, and assumed it would fade out by week 2. She said couples needed a structured check-in because small habits revealed whether a husband was disciplined enough to meet his responsibilities. I remember thinking, disciplined enough? According to whose rules? But I said, okay. I figured it was another whiteboard woman idea that would be abandoned next to the unused air fryer. I did not ask what the reset actually included. That was my first mistake. Because Kendra had already printed the tracker, booked the budget coach, and built the scoring system before she even told me about it. The tracker showed up on the kitchen counter the next morning. Color-coded, laminated, my full name printed across the top like a warning label. Kendra slid the only copy toward me over breakfast and watched my face while I read it. Every dollar I spent during the reset was subject to review. She questioned the $14 lunch I grabbed between accounts on a Wednesday. She questioned the $96 work shoes I had needed for 3 months and kept putting off. She marked my Wednesday basketball game as a recurring absence from domestic responsibility, which she defined as being home to help manage evening tasks. When I worked late to close a stubborn grocery account, she logged me as absent. When I left early one Friday to beat traffic to a client meeting, she asked why my commission numbers were not reflecting the extra effort. I tried to engage with it fairly for the first few days. I asked questions, offered explanations, kept my tone even. I figured if she wanted documentation, I could document. Then came dinner at her sister Tessa's house in Westerville. Tessa's husband Brent was a regional sales director who pulled in close to $90,000 a year. I knew that because Kendra brought it up at the table, not in a whisper, but right out loud, comparing my last pay stub against what she assumed Brent was earning. She laughed when she said it, but nobody at the table mistook the comparison for a joke. I asked where her column was on the tracker. Kendra set down her fork and told me that wives already managed enough invisible labor, and that the reset was designed specifically to address my habits and discipline. She said it like she had rehearsed it. Tessa nodded. Denise, Kendra's mother, who had apparently heard about the reset already, sipped her wine and said nothing. I drove home that night running the numbers in my head, and none of them were about my lunch tab. I stopped arguing the next morning. Not because I had given up, but because arguing with Kendra during the reset felt like playing a game where she had written all the rules and hidden the board. So I stopped talking and started watching. I kept a notebook. Not a color-coded tracker with my name on it, just a plain spiral notebook I kept in my work bag. I logged Kendra's spending, the errands she said she would handle but did not, and a pattern I had started noticing in our joint savings account. Small transfers, 50 here, 120 there, moving out in clusters. When I asked about them early in the week, she told me I was being petty and that real transparency required me to stop acting defensive every time she reviewed my habits. I wrote that down too. On the 7th day of the reset, a furniture store envelope arrived. It had my full name on it, not Kendra's, not ours jointly, just mine. I stood at the mailbox in the driveway and opened it before I walked back inside. It was an overdue notice. The balance was $8,640 on an account I had never opened. I sat in my car for 10 minutes. Then I called the furniture company, pulled up my credit monitoring app, froze my credit file, and spent the next 2 hours downloading statements. What I found was a financing account opened in my name using a digital signature I had not given. Alongside that, I found $4,780 in transfers from our savings account, moved in increments over the past 8 weeks, all going to the same external account. I did not go inside and start a fight. I went inside, made coffee, and kept reading. Kendra came home from a spin class and found me at the kitchen table with the statements spread out. She read the overdue notice twice before she looked at me. She told me the account was temporary. Tessa had been planning a short-term rental property since January, a house she and Brent co-owned outside their primary residence, and she needed help covering the setup costs before Memorial Day bookings came in. Linens, minor repairs, a furniture order, deposits. It had added up faster than expected. Kendra said the external account belonged to Tessa, and that the transfers from our savings had paid for the deposits, linens, and minor repairs. Kendra said she had seen the financing offer from the furniture store while using my laptop, and had applied in my name because her own credit had a flag from an old medical bill. She said she had planned to transfer payments from our savings before anything went overdue. I asked why she had not mentioned any of this when she launched her 30-day household accountability reset. She told me not to make everything personal. I asked who else knew. She did not answer fast enough, and I already had the answer before she spoke. 20 minutes later, Denise called my cell. Not Kendra's, mine. Kendra had clearly called her after our conversation and brought her into it before we had finished dealing with the problem ourselves. Denise told me in a calm, practiced voice that she had advised both Kendra and Tessa to keep the arrangement quiet until the first rental bookings confirmed the income. She said good husbands understood that family sometimes required absorbing temporary problems without demanding a full explanation for every detail. She said it like it was a compliment, like I should feel proud to be included in the category of men who paid for things they were not told about. I thanked her and ended the call. Then I sat in the kitchen and built my own timeline because now I had one. Kendra did not cancel the cookout. I had half expected her to, given what had happened between us over the previous several days, but she went ahead with it. Saturday evening, the backyard was set up with string lights and a folding table, and about a dozen people showed up. Friends, a few neighbors, Tessa and Brent, and Denise. I grilled. I said nothing. I waited. After dessert, Kendra brought out my tracker. She set it on the picnic table and told everyone she had a fun group activity. She wanted each person to share one improvement goal, one area where they were working on being better. She looked directly at me when she said it. The table was quiet in that particular way people go quiet when they sense something uncomfortable is about to happen, but do not yet know what shape it will take. I reached into the back pocket of my jeans and placed the overdue furniture notice on the table next to her score sheet. I did not raise my voice. I asked whether hidden debt registered anywhere on the accountability tracker, or whether that category was only tracked in my column. Tessa's face changed first. She looked at the notice, then at Kendra, and started crying. Not quiet crying, the shaking kind. She said Kendra had told her I had agreed to float the furniture costs and setup expenses until the bookings stabilized, and that Denise had advised her not to say anything to Brent yet because he would overreact before the numbers proved the plan worked. Brent put his beer down. He looked at Denise and asked, in a very even voice, why nobody had informed him about any of it. Denise started to say it was a family matter handled between the women, but Brent was already turning to Tessa. The string lights stayed on. The food sat untouched. Nobody asked me about my improvement goals. The guests filtered out within 30 minutes. Kendra found me in the kitchen loading dishes and asked me, in a low voice, to tell anyone who followed up that the account was a paperwork error until things settled down. I told her I would not lie to cover for her after she had used that tracker to embarrass me in front of our friends since the reset started. She said I was being dramatic and that this could still be resolved quietly between us. I turned the water off, dried my hands, and told her I would talk to her tomorrow. I meant it. I was not storming out. I was just done talking that night. The next morning, I moved my direct deposit to a personal account I had opened the day after finding the furniture notice. I paid our shared bills, mortgage, utilities, insurance, directly through bill pay so nothing lapsed. I removed my authorization from the joint credit card, leaving it active in Kendra's name only. I called the furniture company, explained the account had been opened without my authorization, and filed a dispute. The company froze delivery on the undelivered portion of the order pending investigation. Then I called a family law attorney in Dublin and scheduled a consultation for the following Wednesday. I did not tell Kendra about the appointment. I canceled the budget coach and sent a brief, professional email thanking her for her time. When Kendra found out about the furniture freeze, she called me at work and said I was destroying Tessa's rental before it even launched, and demanded I reverse the dispute and keep funding the account until the bookings covered the balance. I told her the account was opened fraudulently, and I had an obligation to report it. I kept my voice flat and professional, the same tone I used with difficult grocery buyers. Later that day, Brent called me to apologize for the mess and told me Tessa had called Denise. According to Brent, Denise told Tessa she was done offering advice that nobody thanked her for. That meant the people who had built this arrangement were already turning against one another, without me doing anything except protecting my own name. The following Wednesday, I kept the appointment with the attorney. The attorney told me to preserve every statement, keep the dispute active, and document any repayment to our savings separately from the furniture account. The furniture company later confirmed that the account would remain frozen while its investigation continued, and that I did not need to make payments while it reviewed the unauthorized application. Without the undelivered portion of the order, Tessa and Brent postponed the rental launch until they could decide whether to proceed with their own money. About 10 days after the cookout, Kendra came to me with the reset folder and set it face down on the coffee table. She asked whether we could put everything aside and go back to how things had been. No lawyers, no disputes, no separate accounts. She said she understood she had made serious mistakes and that she wanted to fix them inside the marriage, not through attorneys. I told her normal was not available anymore. What she had done, signing my name, hiding the debt, launching an accountability campaign while running a financial arrangement behind my back, and calling her mother to defend it instead of handling the consequences herself, was not a single mistake. It was a pattern, and patterns required more than apologies to change. I told her the terms were simple: full restoration of the $4,780 transferred out of our savings, and a written plan for Kendra and Tessa to cover the $8,640 tied to the furniture account without using my name or my money. Marriage counseling with a licensed therapist, not a budget coach, not a YouTube creator with a whiteboard. And separate finances for a minimum of 12 months, with shared bills handled through a joint bill pay account we both reviewed monthly. I also told her those terms were a starting point, not a guarantee the marriage would last. I needed to see what she did with them before I made any decisions about what came next. She did not argue. Over the following 6 weeks, Kendra sold several of the personal purchases she had made during the reset period: a designer bag, a home fragrance subscription bundle, a set of cookware she had ordered and never opened. She put the first $2,100 toward restoring our savings and showed me the transfer confirmation without being asked. She stopped letting Denise speak on her behalf or involve herself in conversations about our finances. She made the first counseling appointment and showed up. I watched all of it without saying much. Progress was not the same as trust, and I was not willing to treat them as interchangeable. Before the reset, Kendra had called a sales training course I wanted to take a waste of money, and unnecessary given my current account load. I enrolled in it the week after I moved my direct deposit. I paid for it from my personal account. I did not ask for her opinion, and I did not explain the decision. The course ran 6 weeks, and by the end of it, I had renegotiated 2 of my largest grocery accounts and added a regional chain I had been trying to land for 2 years. There was no confrontation or speech that won this for me. I stopped letting her use my name, protected my money, and refused to submit to a scoring system she had never applied to herself. Kendra wanted a husband who absorbed problems without needing details. What she got instead was a husband who checked the statements. Was Kendra's reset ever about the marriage? Or was it just cover for the debt she needed me to absorb? Drop your answer in the comments. If this hit close to home, like the video and subscribe.